Well, hello everybody. I'm Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, here again. And joining me today, I have my friend and card reader, Erika Robinson of A Company of Cards. And we're going to talk to Erika a little bit about her work because she uses an entirely different system of card reading to the normal tarot that I know, although you're a tarot reader as well, right? So
Right.
yeah. And Erika also wrote a book. So we're going to talk a little bit about that first of all. But then Erika and I both have a very keen interest in, shall we say, current affairs. Um, I'll admit that both of us are biased on one side of the debate, but we try and be a little bit neutral when we pull cards or look at the astrology for it. So after we've talked about Erika and her work, we are going to have a look at where we are at the moment in the presidential race, and most specifically at the first debate, which is coming up this week. But then we're going to look at some other things later. We're going to get together, fairly regularly, I think, to do it. But Erika has a Substack called A Company of Cards where she does some deep dives into these readings. Are your deep dives mainly for your paid subscribers, or are they
Oh, no,
public?
no, no. Everything is free
Yeah,
for me. So I do have paid subscribers, but it's more because it's like a love offering, I guess.
yeah.
Everything is open and free from me.
Mine was completely free for the first almost 2 years. I've recently moved some stuff behind the paywall because
Mhm.
I couldn't keep it up, but yeah, I worked that way for a long time. So A Company of Cards on Substack. Again, I'll put the link in the description. But Erika, tell us, before we look at your cards in your book, just kind of tell us a little bit about you and how you got here and your work, if you would.
So let's see. How did I get here? Well, I was a teacher of English high school for 30 years. Um, I have one child, was married for 20 years and then was widowed after 20 years of marriage suddenly. And so that kind of threw me, and it was in the beginning of the school year, so October. And I wanted, you only get like 5 days. So I got all my
Oh,
affairs in
wow.
order, had to go back to school. My daughter went to the same high school that I taught at. And I wanted everything to be normal, treat us normally because people don't love widows. I think it makes them
Mm.
remember,
Uncomfortable.
that could be me.
Mhm.
So I don't advise this for any widow. And by the way, if you say to yourself, well, that's not going to be me. Well,
Well, you
have the
deal with what you've
sugar.
got in front of you, don't you?
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So what I did was I didn't burden anybody. I didn't talk to people, but that doesn't mean that I didn't need that 3 a.m. friend.
Mhm.
So I started to read tarot. Tarot was amazing. And then a friend just happened to have a Lenormand deck in her hand. And I said, what is that? She goes, oh, I don't know. I saw it on a shelf and I bought it. And I said, well, can I have it? So I took it. It was Ciro Marchetti's Gilded Reverie. It's a beautiful, beautiful Lenormand deck. And I was hooked. The problem was there was one resource in English. That's it. And I read that, of course, from cover to cover. I read the French resources. And at that point, there was nothing else to read. So the best I could do was just practice. So I started to read for people. They would run the other way when they saw me coming. But then eventually, like I would read for my colleagues at work. I'd have to hide in the bathroom and they'd bang on the door during lunch break. Are you going to be reading? Because they all wanted a reading. So I thought, well, you know what? That's really nice. But that's my friends and that's my colleagues.
Mhm.
So let me branch out. So I went to some international forums, online forums, and I would just come home from work, throw down my books, make a cup of coffee, and open myself to read. And I'd say, okay, I'll do 5 readings. Well, 5 readings would turn into 25. Then the list would be 500. People were lined up. And it was very good practice because
Mm.
people would say things like, let's say I get a request from India. I don't know this person. And the question would
Mm.
be, what does he think of her? Now, my ego wants to say, what are we talking about here? Is this a
Yeah.
employee? Is this a father, daughter? Is this a love thing? What is it? But that's my ego. So I learned to put my ego in the back seat and just let the cards speak. And I would, on my phone, I don't know why I didn't do it on a laptop, but I would do it on my phone and type out these long, very detailed
Oh,
things. And so people, of course, were clamoring. Well, I just thought, I'm doing this for two reasons. One is to sort of build my reading muscles, and the other is this really helps people. Because for me, Lenormand became that 3 a.m. friend. Lenormand is the kind of oracle where you can ask it anything and it will always answer you. But, people will say things about tarot. They'll say, oh, the cards don't like it when you ask the same question more than once, or tarot doesn't like that kind of question. And I'm always like, I'm pretty sure we're talking about ink on cardboard.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that I'm the boss and then the cards are the tool, but okay. But
Oh, you get so much BS around these things to be
right. But what Lenormand does, think about it this way. If your mother says to you, put on a coat, you're going to be like, yeah, whatever. If
yeah.
your best friend says to you, it's really cold, put on a coat, you might be more inclined to put on a coat. And they'll say it in other words that you will hear, right?
Yeah.
Lenormand is that way. If you don't get it the first time, that's okay. It'll say it another word. In other words, the main difference between tarot and Lenormand, I think, because tarot readers have a lot of trouble with Lenormand. That's because they use their tarot tools. You can't use those tools for that instrument.
Yeah.
So Lenormand is a word language. It looks very simple. It's just 36 cards, numbered 1 through 36, and the images are quotidian, right? Everybody will have seen a dog, a house, a tree. So you don't even need the picture. I went to China once and I didn't want to bring my cards because I didn't know if they get confiscated. So I just took index cards and I wrote the numbers 1 through 36 on the cards, and I
Oh,
was able to
wow.
read Lenormand the whole time I was there. So,
Wow.
but how do words function? Or, words function because we string them together, right? If I say dog, okay, you get a kind of an image of something with a snout and the tail and 4 legs, but that's it. If I say to you, the little white dog wagged its tail and licked me, shaking its whole body, that's one image. If I
Yeah.
say the big black Doberman was the dog that leapt for my throat with its fangs dripping, well, what did I do? I took the word dog and I created 2 entirely different pictures in your mind. That's how Lenormand works. It's a word language. The words are strung together. You would never do what you do with tarot, where you can do a good tarot reading with a single card. There's
Oh,
so much
yeah.
card.
Yeah.
Lenormand, no. Lenormand um, a group activity. It's a team sport. Lenormand cards do not function solely. They function in groups of 3 or more.
See, you have just explained that system to me in a way that I can understand. Well, I love words anyway. So I guess I will be buying the deck now. But
Right.
Erika has her own deck and she's written a book, and the book is available on my Amazon store. I've got an Amazon associate store that's in the description if anybody wants to look at the book.
Looks
But,
like
but
this.
there you go. That it's the one. And she also has the deck though, and the deck is available elsewhere, and Erica's going to send me the link so I can put that in the description.
But
But
people
just,
will be able to see the cards because when we read,
yeah,
reading with that deck.
exactly. So she's gonna use her own cards for this. And because she is the expert card reader, even though I do tarot with the astrology, I'm not really a tarot reader as such on its own. I'm probably going to pull a couple of cards as well, but I'm going to let Erika do most of the card reading. So,
Okay.
all right. So, the election.
The
We
election.
are, what a pickle this country is in, right? So, all round. I think, Erika and I basically agree that it's kind of a Hobson's choice, at the moment, although I think it's clear who the better man is, but personally. Even if it's not your choice, and he was not my choice in 2020. But we have the debate coming up this week. We're recording this on Tuesday, and the debate is Thursday night, and I'm kind of nervous about it. So we're going to look quickly at Joe Biden's chart with the time of the debate start. I found the start time, and then Donald Trump's chart. And while we look at those, I think Erika's probably going to pull some cards for it.
Mhm.
I did have a Lenormand reading from Erika once, and it was excellent. So now I understand it a bit more. It might
Let me tell
also
you,
make more
people
sense.
get people's tongue trip over the word.
Yeah,
But let me explain. I don't know if you know why it's called that.
no.
It was a marketing device.
Oh.
Madame de Lenormand was a French
Mhm,
woman
mhm.
who was a very famous seer. So she was the fortune teller for people like Robespierre and
Mm.
Napoleon, right? She never used this deck. This deck started out as a card game. Some clever marketers said, well, wait, it can be used as a divination tool. Because of course you can actually use anything as a
Oh,
divination, right?
you can, yeah.
And so how can we make it go big? We'll slap her name on it. So they just slapped her name on it. She has nothing to do with it whatsoever. So Lenormand, however you say it is fine.
The tarot started out as a card game as
Right,
well, and you can
right.
use ordinary cards,
That's right.
the
Cartomancy, that's the very first
yeah,
type of
yeah.
reading. Yeah,
You can use stones, you can use
that's right.
bones, twigs, whatever you want.
Bones, anything.
But I like words and
Me
images.
too.
So anyway, so let's quickly share, and I'm not going to spend ages on this. So I'm actually going to look at Biden's first. Okay, just for this week, because we do think things might change later in the election. So you might want to subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get notified of any new uploads to see when we come back and look further along in the election. But this is Joe Biden's chart in the middle. I'll just actually put his chart up. He is a very strong Scorpio. He has Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars all in Scorpio in the 12th house, and he's Sagittarius rising. I'm Sagittarius with Sagittarius rising. This, to my mind, the Sagittarius rising really signifies his smiley, jokey self, but also his slightly gaff-prone demeanor, because Uranus opposes it. But it also explains his big smile, his lanky demeanor, long legs, and his clumsiness for falling over. So that's the Sagittarius rising. But what's most interesting is all of this in the 12th house. This guy is cunning. He has a lot going on that he doesn't show. And he is the kind of person to play the long game. And it's also, all this Scorpio in the 12th really speaks to his saying of, what was it? The soul of America, bring the soul of America back. So I kind of really do think he's on a bit of a mission to leave a legacy, whether he makes it to the election or not. But anyway, that's my opinion on that. But let's go to
Hold on, before we
yeah,
do that, let's look at this. Keep that chart
okay.
up.
Yeah,
Because what I decided to do while you were talking is just to pull some cards on him.
okay.
And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
so
let's
I,
do
I
that.
did a 5 card pull. So the first card was the cross. The second card is the key.
Mm,
Then we have the garden. Then we have Joe.
mm,
And then we have the younger woman in the deck. So
mm,
let me just say quickly that the cross is a very interesting card. It's a religious symbol, obviously. But
mm.
why? Well, because it was an instrument of torture.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's a card of sacrifice.
Hmm.
He is an older man. He's got a family. He's got a wife who loves him. He's got a son who's troubled. He's got grandchildren. He probably would love nothing better than to put his feet up and enjoy the rest of his life with his family. But
Yeah.
he believes that he is meant to make this sacrifice, that we have the key. Now, in tarot, the sun is the best card in the deck. Lenormand also has the sun. I consider the key to be the fraternal twin of the sun. It's that good. So his sacrifice is really for a good and noble purpose. And we have the garden. The garden is everybody outside your front door. So it's all of us. This would be, the country, the nation.
Yeah.
And then we have Joe, and then we have this younger woman. So I think this is
maybe Kamala.
yeah, I think I think she, of course, is his ticket, he'll think, to the younger vote.
Yeah.
But I think also this is a little bit of premonition about things to come moving forward. So that's what I think.
Now, interestingly, the 12th house, where all his Scorpio is often called the house of sacrifice, but also he has a north node at 0 degrees Virgo up in the 9th house, which is kind of truth and justice and many other things. But look at this symbol next to his north node. Chiron. But Chiron is the key.
Yeah.
And Chiron is very much a symbol of sacrifice as well. And his Chiron is in Leo, which is ruled by the sun. So he has that on his north node. I have felt for quite a long time that he feels that he has to do this, that he's at this point the only one that can do it. And so that's why I get really kind of peed off when I hear people going, "Oh, he's so old, and I was like, yeah, but he's got the wisdom and the experience, so let's maybe just and he's listening to some of the younger ones, so let's just let him do his job, right? So, well, look at those cards though for pulling up for that. So and I love that the north node is in Virgo at 0 degrees, because the fixed star Regulus moved to 0 degrees Virgo back in 2011 we moved, the fixed star didn't move, but it moved from 2,160 years of being in Leo, kind of royalty and that kind of real leadership, but leading over others rather than being of real service. But now it's on his north node, and I really think he feels like he is a servant. He's got to do this. So anyway, yeah, I find that amazing. So now we'll quickly look at the other one's chart, which doesn't please me to look at, and Erika can pull
the other one's chart.
Yeah. Now then, where I mentioned fixed star Regulus moving from Leo to Virgo. Well, Donald Trump's ascendant is 29 degrees 55 minutes of Leo at the very last 5 minutes of the sign. And the fixed star has moved off that. And Regulus is the royal star. It is kind of what's leading humanity, really, I would say. I kind of think his time is done with that fixed star going off his ascendant for all his bluster. He was also born on an eclipse with his moon exactly conjunct my sun, which really upsets me. But his north node's in Gemini, conjunct the sun, conjunct Uranus. That explains his very tricksterish, erratic kind of actions and behavior. I'm not going to delineate the whole chart, but what's most interesting to me about this debate this week is it's on Thursday night, June the 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern, and I'm going to look at this lot. But first, I think you pulled some cards about Donald, right? So,
I did.
Yeah.
So we have the house.
Oh.
We have the letter. We have him. We have the rider. And we have the tower. So let me just say, I can say this sort of quickly. Let this stand for the White House. We know that it's not so much that he wants to be the president, it's that if he lives in this house, then he thinks he can't live anywhere else, if you get my drift.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Now,
he thinks nobody can touch him as well.
that's right.
Yeah.
Now, but the letter is such an interesting card in Lenormand because it stands for anything written. We could think it was votes, but I don't think it's votes this time around. I think it is, sentences handed down. That's what I think. And then we have him, and the rider is about news coming in. So there will be sentences coming down, right? And the sentences will lead to the tower. And we do a thing in Lenormand called mirroring, which means that we can look at certain cards together. So I can look at the letter and the rider, meaning that these sentences will be handed down, will be coming. But what's more important is I can mirror the house and the tower. Now, the house, let's say this is the White House. This is prison.
Yeah.
This is prison. And had the cards been reversed, I wouldn't have been so, I don't know, elated, but they come this way.
Yeah.
Because, you read Lenormand in a kind of a linear way, the way you would read a sentence. And so I think that this will end up being his home. Just for those who read tarot, I just want to say that, the tarot tower is usually falling apart. It's on fire. People are falling out of it. But here, always the Lenormand tower is a stalwart, strong structure, can stand for any institution, like a school or a bank or anything, can also indicate loneliness or autonomy. Here, I'm just telling you as the reader, we're talking about incarceration of some type. Maybe home confinement could be, but definitely incarceration.
I just had a thought around that with the letter and the rider as well. I think it was just started yesterday. I've been a bit behind on the news because I've been away, but Judge Cannon in the documents case may have to go. Apparently, the other judges in Florida may oust her and move the case elsewhere. Would the cards maybe pull a couple on that?
Yeah, sure. I can definitely look at that. So,
because I wondered if the letter might be something to do with the documents.
Well, I think the letter, like every Lenormand card, will morph depending on the sentence that it's in, depending on other cards that it's with. So in the one that I just did, it referred to sentences handed down. It's not about canon, but I can certainly look at canon.
No, but it might be that case more than her. Was my intuition kind of
you would certainly listen of all of the cases.
Yeah.
Not for nothing. That's the one that should put him in jail.
It is.
I mean,
so
he's got things in the bathroom, for God's sake.
I mean, and there were foreign leaders. So I wondered, it's not really so much about Cannon herself, but that case is case gonna...
I can look at that case.
Yes, please.
Yes. So okay. So we're gonna call this the documents case. And just as you suspected, what I'm doing, having shuffled, is I'm going to let that letter card stand for the documents case.
Okay.
So I'm shuffling, then I'm cutting into 3. And then what I do, since there's not 78 cards, thank goodness, there's only 36, is I'm just flipping cards until I get to the letter. And we'll see what's around it.
Oh, I like the way you do that. Guess what deck I'll be buying next.
Now, how interesting, because I shuffled and yet I still got many of the same cards. So here we have the letter in the middle, but we have the tower as first. Rider, again, news coming in about that case, because that's the case. And then we have the house again, but right? And then, but we have the heart. Now, bear in mind, we're looking at this you know, how do I decide, well, is this good for him or is this good for us?
Yeah.
Well, we're the one reading it. So I'm
Yeah.
taking it as good for us. So the tower mirrors the heart. This is certainly
Mm-hmm.
our heart's desire that he go to jail for this case, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then news comes in and it's relative to the case because these documents were taken from where? The White House.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
Wow.
think things bode well for him. But even if they take her off the case, it won't the case won't be decided before the election.
No, no, it won't. No,
That's
it
the
won't be decided, but things might shift in it and move it. And
hope.
yeah, interesting. Well, that brings me back to these aspects astrologically for debate night. Okay,
Mhm.
so he has, as I mentioned, this Gemini Sun, North Node in Gemini, Uranus in Gemini, opposing the Moon and South Node. He was born on an eclipse. We've got two planets stationing retrograde just after this debate. Saturn stations retrograde on the 29th at 19 degrees Pisces, conjunct Nessus, which is a revealer of abuse of power at the same degree, and Nessus just stationed retrograde. And Neptune then stations retrograde on July the 2nd. And Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, and the moon is in Pisces, which generally represents the people if we're looking at these kind of matters. All of these four energies really are square to his eclipse that he was born on.
And
And
square is not good, right?
no, a square is challenging, especially when it's a T square,
Mhm.
and especially when two planets are about to go retrograde from our perspective. This is a complete change of direction. This is things being revealed, Nessus, abuses of power, as if there could be any more abuse. I don't know if you saw, he was talking about migrants doing kind of cage fighting or something. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Anyway, but Saturn as well is kind of the law, hard man-made law, like the end of something, and a reality check as well, like things coming to an end. I really, and well, there's other aspects too. I think this week and the debate and things is going to be the real start of a turning point, personally. So,
So I drew some cards about the debate per se.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So let me just say that you might, I don't know if you remember this commercial, Louise, but years and years ago, there was an American Express card, a commercial, and the commercial said, there's a card for that. Like whatever you
Oh,
want to buy, there's a card for that. Well, whatever question you want to ask, Lenormand has a card for that. So
mm-hmm,
the card that I use for the debate is birds. And why would
mm,
that be? Birds is all kinds of verbal
yeah, it's,
communication.
yeah,
It can be chat over backyard. It can be a meeting of the G12.
yeah.
It can be a phone conversation with friends, but it also can stand for debate. So I,
Mm-hmm.
I shuffled and then I flipped one by one until I got to the birds. The two cards that came before it in the deck I put to the left,
Mm,
and the other two cards that came after it I put to the right. So we have clover,
mm,
we have the whip, we have our birds in the middle,
mm.
we have the mice, and we have the fox. So let's talk about what that might mean. Now, this debate is meant to be
Oh,
90 minutes.
I'm just going to turn this off.
Okay,
Stop sharing the screen so people hold. If you
see
could
the
hold
cards.
the cards
Okay.
up again, yeah.
This debate is meant to be 90 minutes long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure that it will be that long
Oh.
because Clover, we all know Clover is lucky and happy and all that.
Mm.
But it's not just that, it's also quick.
Yeah.
So I think that it may be shorter than we think that than it's planned to be. And also, here's why it could be short. We have the whip. Now, the whip, and sometimes I see the whip and I love the whip because it's the card, for example, for the writer. You and I are both writers.
Yeah,
The card for the athlete. We both walk.
yeah.
But
Mhm.
most often, the whip is the card for contentious words, difficult, hard words. So, I mean, we saw the previous debate,
Mm.
like the one with Hillary. No, you're the puppet. So stupid.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
he's the king of the ad hominem attack.
Oh, really is.
His ad
Yeah.
hominem attacks, because there's no audience oohing and eyeing and clapping and cheering, will
And they're turning his mic off.
and they turn the mic off when it's not his turn to talk. So
Yeah.
his ad hominem approach is sort
Mm.
of cut short. He
Mm.
can't do his shtick like he normally would do. In the middle, we have our birds. That stands for the debate. And then we have two really interesting animal cards here. The first is the mice. Mice is the card for being super anxious and super worried to the
Mhm.
point where, I mean, mice are always running around, bumping into each other. Even if you
Mhm.
think of like Disney's Cinderella, those mice before they got
Oh,
their
yeah.
task, they were very bad tempered and pushing and shoving until they got their task. But
Mhm.
here it's about anxiety, stress,
Mhm.
worry. And we have this card, the fox. Now, the fox is many things, but it's among them is it's the card for the expert.
Mm.
I mean,
And foxes are cunning. And
they're very cunning, and
I
this makes me.
described Joe Biden
This
as
is Joe,
cunning.
absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. This is Joe Biden, who
Yeah.
is the expert, who is cunning. And notice that my fox. I mean, this is not true for
Mm.
every Lenormand fox, but my fox is swimming in a sea of mushrooms,
Mm.
blissed out. And
Mhm.
I think this means that sort of relative to 45, he will be calm as a cucumber. In some ways, these have opposite energy.
Mhm.
Like Joe will just let him, when it's his turn,
Yeah.
go off and say whatever he wants to say and just be cool as a cucumber. But I do
And,
think,
and stand there with his crooked smile.
yes, yes. And so when we look at the mirroring, we see Clover and Fox. Clover now morphs because we're reading it
Mm.
with a different card, right?
Mm.
So when I saw with the whip, it meant that this thing will feel shorter than it actually
Mm.
is, or will be shorter. But here now it's with the Fox, it morphs to
Mm.
its traditional meaning that we are all familiar with. It'll be lucky for our fox, who is Joe. And
Ooh.
then I can also mirror together the whip and the mice. Uh, because of the silence in the room, because of who the moderators are,
Mhm.
because of the mics being turned off, this experience will be sheer unadulterated torture for 45. Torture. To the point where he may even say, okay, you know what? I'm out of here. And
Yes.
just cut the thing short.
I was going to ask that. I was going to
Yeah,
say, do you think he's just going to walk out?
he
Well,
could,
well, to look at Joe's chart with the debate, that kind of backs it up, really.
right.
The Saturn station retrograde that I talked about, this is all happening in the fourth house for Joe. This is like your innermost self, your home. And I this all feels very calm to me. It feels
Yep.
like he's just going to kind of stand there and just let it all happen. And then Saturn stations retrograde 2 days after the debate, almost exactly on the bottom of his chart and opposing his public presence, which is the top Virgo. I kind of think it's going to be a turning point for him as well. Again, whether he ends up being making it to the election or not, I think it's going to change the race for him in a positive
I think he
direction.
will, yeah, because he'll look like the sane one.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And this is all making a supportive aspect to all his strong Scorpio as well. There's and Mercury is on his Jupiter. He's just going to be kind of calm, and then I think he's going to come out with some zingers. I think he's going to have some of his his Jokey Joe zingers kind of lined up, ready for this
This
debate.
is the thing, is that if he's that blissed out fox, he'll
Hmm.
pull those singers out as he needs them and be
Hmm.
completely unbothered. But remember, the other party, who I call 45,
Hmm.
cannot in the moment respond.
Yeah.
I don't know that he is constitutionally capable
I
of not responding. So let him respond, but the mic will be off. So he's gonna look stupid because it'll be like this. His, his mouth will be moving, but there will be no sound. And I think you watch the color in his face rise. He could blow a
Mm.
gasket,
I
which,
wonder, I wonder if they're allowed to move around. Do you remember him like standing threatening with
looming over. No, I
yeah,
don't know. In fact, we already know that there was a coin toss. So this
yeah.
is beautiful. This is another thing. The coin
Mhm.
toss said that they were deciding on where to stand and then who had the last word. So Joe said, "I want the right side of the
Mhm.
stage." So they're
Uh-huh.
standing stationary. There's no walking around. Walking around and do what? There's no people to walk around and look.
Yeah.
No. And then the other one was that 45 has the last word. I love that. Please give him
Mhm.
the last word because he's going to sound like a maniac. That's perfect. And Joe can just stand there like the fox. All
Oh,
that scorpionic energy that will come across as the fox is the card for the expert, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so he will be just watching this crazy person decompensate.
Wow. I'm excited to watch it
I
after
am
we've
too.
looked at all of this actually. But so we've I don't want to go on too long for these. I think Erica and I both would like to come back and do further ones. Erica has already kind of said to me before we started recording that she has this strong feeling and intuition that at the by November the 5th, which is the election date, that neither of them will be candidates. I wouldn't be surprised. But I still think Joe is kind of holding space till we
Well,
get
I
rid of
think Joe,
rid of one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I feel more strongly about 45 being replaced
Yeah.
by Haley, by the way. Uh,
Oh.
and
Mm.
I think that Joe will certainly make the election.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll make the inauguration.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put bets on him lasting the whole term. I don't think so.
No, no, no. Well, let's hope he retires and
Let's
hands it
hope he
over.
does.
Yeah, and doesn't go out another way. So maybe we'll look at that later, but I don't know if I like looking at things like that too much. But we'll look at the election itself. I think we'll look at the second debate if 45 makes it that far. I really do have a feeling something is happening with that documents case, and I know it won't be done by the election, but maybe something else will emerge about the documents case if Cannon's off the case that we don't know yet.
Yeah, well,
So
we can read on that when the time.
yeah, yeah. So let us know in the comments if you've enjoyed this, and give us a thumbs up. I'll give you a hug if you feel like you need to give us a thumbs down. I don't know why people do that. Why don't you just unfollow the channel if you don't like it? But anyway, and we'd love to do more of this. And let us know what you think, and check out Erica's book, and check out her Substack as well, In the Company of Cards. Again, I'll put the link in the description. Oh, and before we do go to that, just tell them a little bit about your deep dive pull that you did on the immunity case.
So yeah, you can read it on Substack. I sometimes I will use tarot and an African Adinkra, the African Adinkra Oracle in addition to Lenormand, but I've been doing deep dive pulls just with Lenormand because that is
Mhm.
my best instrument. And so I wrote a Substack article about what I think will happen with the immunity case, which is I think that they will come out with the decision that he does not have immunity. I think there's been a ton of fighting on the court.
Mhm.
ton, and I think that that really is the reason why there's been a delay in the process. Because, I mean, and I did mention, worst case scenario that I do not see happening, but it could, is that they kick it back down. The thing is, if they were going to kick it back down, they should have kicked it back down. They should, I mean,
Yeah.
why are we waiting
Yeah.
all this time? But they
I,
could kick it back down and make everybody happy, supposedly, by
yeah.
saying, listen, you know, there are certain things that a president does have immunity for, and there are
Mhm.
other things that he doesn't because he's a private individual. So we need that parsed out. But
Mhm.
that, you know, that would be very Solomonically splitting the baby. And if you know the story of Solomon splitting
Mm. Yes.
mean, you know, everybody gets half a baby. That's not that fun.
No, it's
Half a baby. So I'm
not.
I am thinking, or at least the time I wrote the Substack, that he will not be granted blanket immunity because that's what he's asking for.
Yeah.
And time
Cool.
is of the essence. The court doesn't have time to split hairs. No, you don't have blanket immunity, which, by the way, we all knew back in 72 when Nixon tried to say that he had it. But
Oh, I
okay,
know. But he'll try
yeah,
anything, this guy.
anything.
So,
Mhm.
both of us separately had actually come to the feeling, or I looked at her astrology when she was picked for the court. That Amy Coney Barrett is kind of the one that is saying this is all too far, almost. That's how it feels to me. She's very, very conservative in the old style conservative way, in my opinion, and likes things being by the rules. And she's very smart, as you said, Erika.
Incredibly bright and
Very,
will
very
hold
bright.
people's feet to the fire, does
Yeah,
not accept arguments that seem at all
yeah.
glib.
No,
Uh,
and
she's
and
tough.
she won't like 45.
No,
He's because yeah, how can people, on Christians and things, think he's kind of their savior?
well,
So, mhm,
because he serves a purpose. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure that behind closed doors, they refer to him as the Antichrist. But if he
yeah,
furthers their agenda,
yeah.
they're all for him.
But I don't think her agenda is that. No. I'm going to share her chart real quick if you've got time, Erica,
Sure.
just to go. So her north node is at 5 Aquarius, which is 1 degree away from the south node of the USA, and her sun's at 7 degree Aquarius. And Aquarius is a very free thinking sign. She won't just toe the line. I don't think she won't kind of just say, this is the way it is. Also, her moon. I mean, this is a noon chart. We don't have a time. She's got a Cancer moon. It's going to be close to the sun of the USA because the sun of the USA is 13 Cancer. She's got some major connections to the US chart, right? And there's other things I can look at here. I really kind of think she's the one who's going to say, but this isn't
I've pulled some cards here for her.
awesome. I think she's saying, we've got to follow the law. That's,
So,
that's
so,
it, basically. Yeah.
so what I did was I put her in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have Clover again.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
We have the dog. We have Amy. We have the anchor. And then we have the scythe.
Ooh.
Now, what does that mean? I think, first of all, I think she has, women tend to do this. She has made some friends on the court, some alliances. Certainly, I know with Sonia Sotomayor. So that's the dog. They can talk reasonably together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's made her happy because can you imagine? I mean, if she
Oh,
were not having allies somewhere on that court, her time there would have been miserable.
oh,
Right?
it
So,
would.
so, so she's feeling good about those friendships. But here's more to the point about the question. So here we have an anchor. The court has been weighted down with this particular decision, stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But look at this. She cuts the anchor loose. She
Mm-hmm.
breaks the tie. She probably even could very well encourage Roberts to man up and take
Mm-hmm.
control of this court and
Oh,
let those other two, twist in the breeze. But to
Yeah.
see these two cards where the one cuts the other, I like that very
Mm.
much. And
Yeah.
she would be the instrument for that.
Yeah, and I remember looking at this astrology chart when she was nominated, well, when she was actually, you know, put on the court, saying she's going to be kind of the one to not follow their agenda fully. She's not going to like people that behave like Alito and Thomas and things like that with her upbringing. She's very straight. She
Right.
is so straight.
We
Oh,
have to pray for her and pray for her
mm,
right thinking in this matter because she's got a
yeah,
lot of power
yeah.
and hopefully she'll wield it the right way.
Yeah, and yes, she did vote to overturn Roe, but that fits with her Christianity,
Yeah.
you know, and brand of. But the other things don't really fit with it. So anyway, but also I think she's very much this is the law, and we
Yep.
have to kind of follow the law. Where's her Saturn? I just want to quickly look at that. That's at 29 Taurus. That's interesting. Uranus is coming up to that. Oh, she is going to break things.
Mhm.
That speaks of the size to me.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, Erika, this is so much fun.
This has been a
I'm
lot of fun.
really
Yeah.
glad I asked you, and I really hope that, you know, anybody that watches this will check out Erika's book and her deck. The links will be in the description. Check out her Substack too. You know, we've been connected for quite a while. We were on a kind of course together a few years ago now.
Years ago.
Wow. But I've been meaning to get her on here for ages because we both have these similar interests. So we're going to do it
I appreciate you
again.
asking me. This was a lot of fun.
It is. So wait till next time, guys. We're going to do it. I'll create a separate playlist, I think, for us.
Sounds good.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.